Hello, I am Distro and I am a Splinter Cell speedrunner. I am a top runner for all of the main series Splinter Cell games. There's one line of questioning I see a lot from my viewers. I encounter questions like, what is your favorite level? Or, what is the hardest level? Or, what is your favorite Splinter Cell game? Very frequently. This is why I decided to make YouTube videos in the future answering some of those questions. Today, we are starting by ranking all the Splinter Cell game speedruns based on the learning difficulty. That means that I will be ranking the Splinter Cell games from the easiest one to learn up to the hardest one to learn. I am only considering the difficulty to learn the speedrun and finish your first run without weighing in the difficulty of getting a top speedrun time. We will be ranking all the main series games from Splinter Cell 1 up to Blacklist. For Double Agent, we take both versions into account. Let's get started. Number 7. Splinter Cell Chaos Theory. The Chaos Theory speedrun barely contains any glitches or skips. That makes it very straightforward. If you want to pick up Chaos Theory as a speedrun, you will for the most part only have to memorize the route and which equipment to use where. Menuing Chaos Theory is a bit challenging at first, but one gets used to it fairly quickly. If your sole purpose is to just zoom through the game, then Chaos Theory is fairly easy to pick up. That being said, it is important to keep in mind that some of the strats used in the World Record Run are difficult to execute, but there are always plenty of much easier alternatives that are much more beginner friendly. Number 6. Splinter Cell Double Agent version 1. The PC version of the game. Splinter Cell Double Agent feels very similar to Chaos Theory when it comes to the general gameplay. However, the run is quite a bit longer and there are some minigames and some skips you have to learn in order to go faster. Some sections are a bit precise, like the part where you have to listen to Emil's meeting in the Kinshasa level. If your position is slightly off, then you will be spotted and you will have to revert. This is why Double Agent is a bit harder to pick up than Chaos Theory. Overall, I would claim that it is still relatively easy to learn if you just want to finish the speedrun of the game. That is, as long as you don't factor in keeping the game crash free. Because in that case, the game would shoot up to number 1 in the list instantly. Not having Double Agent crash on PC is basically impossible. Number 5. Splinter Cell Blacklist. The difficulty in Blacklist lies in good movement and fast menuing. Movement overall feels quite wonky in this game, and a lot of times Sam just does things you don't want him to do. When it comes to tricks, most of them are fairly easy. Flash dropping is such an example. You just have to learn when to press which button, and that's pretty much it. Recently, there have been some new skips found, most notably grenade clips. While they aren't necessarily difficult, they are terribly inconsistent. For some of them I would even recommend not doing them at all when you're starting to learn the speedrun. They only become worth it once you want to compete with the top leaderboard time. Overall, there is still a lot to remember in this game, especially which grenade to use when. Mastering the move in this game is really hard, but keep in mind I don't take that into account in this ranking. Perfect movement doesn't matter when your sole goal is to just learn the game and finish a run. Number 4. Splinter Cell Double Agent version 2. The Xbox version of the game. Learning a Splinter Cell game on console is always a bit trickier compared to PC in my opinion. You do not have the luxury of fast quick saving and quick loading, and every save or load loses you a lot of time. That alone made me rank this game a bit higher than its PC counterpart. But that isn't all. Version 1 and version 2 of the games are vastly different. There are more enemies in this version of the game that you have to actively deal with. Using your equipment wisely matters more than in version 1 of the game. The levels also feel quite long in comparison and are just more difficult in general. Even in the casual playthrough, there are more obstacles, traps, and hacking minigames you have to deal with in this game. And this remains true for the speedrun as well. This alone boosts up the difficulty level by quite a bit compared to Double Agent version 1. We're reaching the top 3 of this ranking list. Get ready for number 3. Number 3, Splinter Cell 1. The first Splinter Cell game has a lot of technical tricks and skips compared to the other games. There are a variety of different tricks and some of them need a good understanding of what is happening in order to get them right. The sheer amount of glitches alone makes this run one of the harder ones to learn. Some of the glitches are quite precise. The gazebo skip, for example, which allows you to end the Chinese Embassy one mission earlier. Other than that, some of the skips might also look easier than they actually are. The training dialogue skips are a prime example for that. If your only goal is to just finish the game quickly, missing the one or the other dialogue skip on training won't matter, however. You can decide not to do some of the harder tricks and still get a decent time. And that makes this game not too difficult to pick up, in my opinion. I still believe that number 3 is a good spot for ranking this game's difficulty. Number 2, Splinter Cell Pandora Tomorrow. The Pandora Tomorrow speedrun is relatively short, but that doesn't mean that it is easy. Some of the levels are surprisingly difficult if you want to use all the big time savers that you see in the top run. Trying to go fast in this game will cost you a lot of concentration. The menuing is the best out of any Splinter Cell game in my opinion, because you can just cycle through all of the equipment. But that also adds to the challenge of the speedrun. There is a lot of memorization required if you want to get the right equipment at the right time. If you decide to learn this game, you might find yourself surprised in how much precision some of the tricks need. The skip in the first level where you run past the hostages is a good example of a trick that might look easy at first, but really isn't when you try it. The good thing is that you can quick save and get to try a trick over and over again until you get it right. Now it is time to get to the, in my opinion, most difficult Splinter Cell speedrun to learn. But first, let me get in a word from our sponsors. Just kidding, guys. I am a nobody and don't even have any sponsors. The number 1 run is... Oh wait, we don't need a drum roll. There's only one game left. Yeah, you guessed it. It's Splinter Cell Conviction. Splinter Cell Conviction is probably the shortest game in the Splinter Cell series if you don't take into account all the downtime. There are a lot of unskippable cutscenes or dialogues that fill up a significant portion of the game's speedrun. And while the action gameplay is relatively short because of that, the tricks are still incredibly difficult for Splinter Cell standards. You have one out of bounds after the next in this game, and almost none of them are easy. Quite the opposite. Levels like 3rd Echelon or Michigan Reservoir will really test your patience if you decide to learn all the big time-saving skips. A lot of the out of bounds have one thing in common. Throw yourself on the ground with a grenade to gain height due to glitchy collision detection. While the idea is always the same, each skip's nade boost feels different to another, and it is far trickier than one might think at first. Some of the skips require a lot of precision and fast and correct inputs. For the most part, the angles have to be right, the inputs have to be right, and there will always be some slight differences each time that you will have to adapt to while attempting a skip. But that is not all. You will also have to memorize which grenade to use when, and what the keybind for each grenade is. This aspect is very similar to Blacklist. Because of these reasons, Conviction makes number 1 for me on this list. This was my ranking, and I hope it helped you guys get some insight into my view of things in Splinter Cell speedruns. Don't let this ranking discourage you from learning any of the higher ranked games. Compared to other speed games, Splinter Cell games are still relatively easy to pick up in my opinion. And most importantly, they are a lot of fun. If you decide to learn one of the games, the Splinter Cell speedrun community will welcome you with open arms and answer all your questions. We don't have a lot of runners, and are always happy to welcome new people into our cozy little speedrun niche. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, If you want to see more of this type of content, make sure to like the video and let me know in the comments. Have a great day, and thanks for watching.